Wendy from Shiny Happy World, and today I'm going to show you how to make a really fun bunny block with little 3D ears that are not going to flop over. So I've already got a tutorial that shows how to do that for stuffed animals so that the ears stand up nice, and now I'm going to show you that you can use the same material, it's stuff called Soft and Stable, to make ears on a quilt. It works on quilts also. So here's the block that we're going to make. Let's see if I'm getting him centered in there. And you can see that those ears are not attached to the back of the quilt. And they're really soft. I always turn this the wrong way. They're really soft, so you could like fall asleep on this quilt and it's not got like a hard crunchy bit that's going to bother you. And you could squish them and play with them. If you made them with satin on the front, that would be really nice. These have got, let me fold it down enough so you can see the back of the ear is the same fabric as the main bunny body, but I just cannot get this lined up with the camera. Okay, there we go. So this is the block that I'm going to show you how to make. So in the video I'm going to start by showing you how to make the ears, and then I'll show you how to put it all together for the entire block. And this is a free pattern. This is one of the bunnies from the Mix and Match Bunnies quilt pattern, which is free at Shiny Happy World. So let's jump in and I'll show you how to make the ears. Okay. So I've got my ears set up. What I've done, I traced the applique pattern onto freezer paper. That way I didn't want to have to measure seam allowances and things. So I'm going to do a neat little trick here that's going to make this work. So I traced the two ear patterns, a left and a right, onto freezer paper, and I fused it to the back side of one of the fabrics that I'm going to use for the ear. And now I've got them all layered. I've got the back side of the ear, which is the main ear fabric, and I've got the front side of the ear, which is this really light pink. Those two are layered right sides together, and then I've got the Soft and Stable, which is that foam that's going to make the ears nice and springy instead of floppy. So I've got them laid out with the foam, the lining fabric right side up, and the main fabric right side down. I've got the ears fused to the back side of the main fabric, and now I'm going to take these to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew around the curved part of the ear. I'm going to leave this flat part open. I'm just going to sew around the curved part of the ear for both ears, and then I'll turn them right side out. Okay, I sewed around both of the ears and I sewed right up against the side of that freezer paper. I'm going to go ahead and peel off one of the pieces so that you can see the stitching line there. And then, now the seam allowance doesn't really matter how accurate it is, so I'm just going to eyeball a 1/4 of an inch seam, and I'm just going to cut around this one because I think you'll be able to see the edge of the ear better since I haven't pulled that freezer paper off yet. Okay, so that's the main part of the ear. Let me just trim the bottom off. Now you want to be really careful when you sew to make sure that you're back stitching at the beginning and the end of this stitching, because we're about to turn it right side out and that puts a little bit of strain on things. So I peel that off, and now I've got my turning tubes, which I love for turning shapes like this right side out. You want to make sure there are two places you can go in. You can go in between the lining and the foam, or the main part of the ear, the main fabric and the lining fabric. That's what you want. You want to go between the main fabric and the lining fabric. You slide that tube in, you push the end with the stick, and then you don't really need the tube anymore after that once you get the stick going through. And just push it through, feed that down. Give that a little bit of smoothing around. So this is actually going to be the front of the ear. And you can just see a little bit of that darker pink all around. So I'm going to take this now. I've got an ear. It's pretty firm. It's definitely still soft. Like, it wouldn't bother you to sleep on this or anything like that. So if a kid falls asleep on their quilt that has these ears, it's not going to be irritating. I'm going to just give this a quick press, and then I'm going to show you how to attach it to the quilted block. All right, I've got all of my parts here. I have my background block that's already been quilted, And I have my fusing pieces, the ones that have got the printable fusible adhesive on the back. I've already cut out and peeled off the back of the nose and the eyes. And I've got my foam filled ears here all ready to go. And I'm on a safe ironing surface here. So I'm going to peel off the back of the head, the little bunny face. And you want to use fusible on any of the pieces that are not going to be 3D. So I've just positioned it so that the raw edge, you can barely see it here. Here, I'll pull this forward just a bit. So the raw edge at the bottom of the face is lined up with the raw edge of the bottom of the block. And I'm going to put my eyes on. And my nose. And now, just so that I don't accidentally move those around, I'm going to fuse just the bottom part of the face. I'm not going to fuse up here where the ears are going to go. Okay, that'll just keep those from moving around while we position the ears. So now, when I cut these ears, I cut them, you can see here, let's see if I can move it up even closer. This is the knot where the end of the stitching was, and I cut like an extra 1/4 inch seam allowance past that. That's what I'm going to tuck behind the face, the top of the head. And this is going to make it bump up a little bit. We're going to fix that. So right now, I've got that tucked about 1/4 inch behind the top edge of the head. And now I'm going to press that down as best I can. And I'm really going to put some pressure on it to try and smush that flat. So what I'm doing here is I'm fusing the top edge of the face to the fronts of the ears, but nothing is holding that to the quilt block. So that's where our outline stitching is going to come in. So you always need to do some outline stitching around the edges of the blocks, and for something like this, it's even more important because we need to really secure those to the block. So I'm going to go do that now at the sewing machine, and then I'll bring it back and show you the finished block. And here you can see the finished bunny block. So when I took it to the machine, I stitched around the top edge of the head, and I stitched down the eyes and the nose, and I stitched over the line I had drawn for the mouth. But the ears are loose, but you can see if you stand it up, they're not going to flop forward. I mean, they're going to lean a little bit, but they're not actually going to flop down because that little layer of foam keeps them up. But they're still soft. You can squish them and let go of them and they'll spring right back. So these are really, really fun for kids to have. And it's a great way to add a 3D fun effect to what is still a very, very cuddly quilt. So that's it. It's really easy to add a 3D effect using an existing, you don't have to alter the pattern itself in any way. You just have to alter the way you construct it. I showed it with bunny ears, but you could do it adding wings to a block on a quilt, or a tail if you wanted to give a cat tail that you wanted to stand up and not flop over, or monster ears or elephant ears, or any other part of the applique pattern that you want to be 3D and standing out a little bit from the surface of the quilt. You can use this technique for that. I'm Wendy from Shiny Happy World. I'll see you next time.